NPP youth have attacked the second vice chair of the party at Bogatanga Hospital. His car was also vandalized while he was sitting in it. It is not clear what triggered this attack, but it's believed that is in connection with the death of Mr. Adam Mahama, NPP regional chairman, who suffered an acid attack late last night. It took the timely intervention of the police, who fired tear gas to disperse the angry NPP youth. Upper East regional correspondent Albert Sori has more.
Well, a while ago, there was a violent incident where a car was vandalized by some of the youth who are gathered here. They were agitated. I'm told that in that vehicle, an old man was driving, and he had the second vice chairman, the second regional vice chairman of the party in the car. And from what I gather, the youth were angry at this second vice chairman. He's popularly called Bogger. I'm trying to get his real name for now, but they chewed some blocks which are just parked close to the mortuary at the regional hospital. And they chewed these blocks at the car, apparently trying to get to the second vice chairman who was in the car. So the police had to move in, fire warning shots to disperse this youth. It's unclear exactly why they were agitated or why they were angry at the second vice chairman.
So there was a violent scene at the hospital. That's the Bogatanga hospital you report.
Yes.
And we still don't know the cause of this violent scene?
Well, it was pretty dangerous to get too close. So I could not hear exactly what the youth were saying while they were throwing the stones and the blocks at the car. We will have to get to the police to try and find out why. At the moment, the car has been moved away, but it was damaged. The windscreens, both in front and on the side, were all broken down, and the police. It took the timely intervention of the police to move in and disperse these youth. Otherwise, it would have been a totally different story. I just saw some soldiers who have also just come, and they are currently sitting in their vehicle. I'm sure they were called following that incident to come and try and beef up the security.
I see. But was anyone hurt in this attack?
For now, to the best of my knowledge, no one was injured. The police were able to move.
Meanwhile, another group of irate youth of the party here in Accra are blaming the party's General Secretary, Kwabena Japan, and the party's National Chair, Paul Afoko, for the death of Mr. Adam Mahama. Consequently, the police have beefed up security at the party's headquarters in Accra. Kwacha Afreniama, who was at the headquarters, now joins me in studio with much more on what happened earlier today. So, Afre, thanks for joining us. Now, why did the police have to go there? In fact, let's ask. Let's start off with the numbers we saw there and why all that angry crowd.
The police officials, the security presence here when I was leaving a while ago, you had more than 50 police personnel. You had earlier in the morning, I got there around 10 a.m. At the time, you had about 15 police officers. But as time went on, you had more joining them. Currently, you have water cannons, you have some wielding AK-47s, you have some with tear gases and all that, and that gives you a clear idea of how heavily armed they are. And they say that the intelligence that they've picked up is that some youth in the party, obviously angry with how events have unfolded today, the death of Mr. Adams Mahama, have attempting to besiege, or they fought plans to besiege the party's asylum down headquarters. In fact, even as I was there, I heard some of them talk. About 5 of them arrived at the party headquarters on Okada, that's the commercial motorbike. And from their conversation, it was clear that they were planning to besiege the party office. What exactly their intentions are, it's not clear, but they were obviously angry with how events have turned out. They say that it is too much of a coincidence that just a week after Mr. Adams Mahama was accused of organizing some youth, some thugs in the party to attack Mr. Paul Afoko and Mr. Kwabena Japan, who were in the region for a tour, the man was attacked, an acid attack today. They find it they think it's too much of a coincidence now. They definitely think that Mr. Kwabena Agyapong and Paul Afoko have a hand in the death of the man.
There's also been talk of the fact that one suspect in custody is some way related to Mr. Afoko. How true is that?
Certainly, we understand this man's name is Gregory Afoko, and as it stands currently, information that we are picking up also is that the national security and the police are looking for Mr. Paul Afoko and Kwabena Agyapong. This information we cannot independently verify, but these are highly placed sources within the hierarchy of the national security and the Ghana Police Service as well, because of how they've been linked with this entire incident. These security operatives think that they have something to do with it. But information I've picked up additionally is that it's not too clear where Mr. Paul Afoko is currently. But of course, when our sister station, Adom FM, was speaking to him earlier on, he expressed shock when he heard about the death of Mr. Mahama, and he says that of course the party will conduct investigation into this matter to ensure that moving forward such violent occurrences do not happen again.
Let's take a listen to Mr. Paul Afoko in that particular interview with Captain Smart of our sister station, Adom FM.
Please to investigate this as a criminal offense, arrest the perpetrators, and let Adams have his day in court, and let the court processes take place. People get prosecuted, so that everybody will now know that the party here, we are a party of law and order, and we will not accept violence. I would say that I am with Adams in thought, in prayer. Onya, you should get well quick, and then let's go and carry out an investigation. And I ask on the police authorities to investigate this very well, because we can't have our officer attacked in this manner.
Chairman, finally, when him says, "See, I want to make a say, Openi Mahama Adams, why in your media?"
What? No, please, we are not. No, I don't believe. Hold on. Let me make. Please, let me check this.
No, you heard me right.
Please. No. Let me check this thing.
Chairman, you heard me. That's it.
No. Please.
And to win your we're free.
Please. Hey, look, I have to come off. I have to check this. Please.
You're a reporter or what?
I have to investigate this. I'm sorry. Please. I don't want to hear this. Please don't tell me this. Sorry.
Oh, that was Mr. Paul Afoko in an interview there with my colleague, Captain Smart of Adom FM. Now, Afraid is still here with me. Let's get some more answers from him. So, Afraid, also we are told that some angry youth, some of the people who were there this morning who had besieged the premises of the NPP headquarters were calling for the resignation of the General Secretary and of course, Mr. Paul Afoko as the party chairman. Why so?
Certainly, they think that since they took office more than a year ago, and how things have happened, how they've conducted themselves, how the party has been run, the chaotic events, notably what happened in August last year, a recent steering committee meeting where they were allegedly sidelined with Mr. Kwabena Agyapong's comment on an Accra-based radio station where he lambasted some party people, accused them of trying to sabotage his political ambitions. They think that what the party should be doing rather, and what these two leaders should be leading the party to do, is concentrate on the 2016 election. And to these party supporters who converge at their Salem Down headquarters, they are doing the opposite of that. Mr. Kwabena Agyapong and Paul Afoko, again, they think have a hand in the death of Mr. Adams Mahama. That's an allegation now. Well, that needs to be proven. Okay. But all these incidents, they think is enough reason for Mr. Kwabena Agyapong and Paul Afoko to step down as party leaders.
Afraid, just hold on for me. Let's go on to the phone lines and now speak to editor of Joy News, Stephen Anti, currently at the NPP headquarters. Let's gauge the mood over there as well. Stephen, what's the situation now?
Right, the situation is pretty much
how it was by the time Afreniama left here. A handful of police officers, I can count round about 50 police officers, all armed with tear gas canisters. They are virtually riot control police officers who are stationed here. Now, what we are told is that they're just looking out for people who might get out of hand to cause trouble here. The police, journalists spoke to the head of operations of the police service, Commissioner of Police, John Kudalo, earlier, a couple of minutes ago, who just said that they're here to protect life and property. And he went inside to get some form of briefing from officials inside the headquarters. And as a friend might have said already, none of us is allowed to enter. So the police is also ensuring that nobody is entering. A while ago, Professor Michael Quay came around in his vehicle, but he couldn't go inside. I think that security precautions are that he may have to go back to the residences of Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, where we're told that leadership of the party is converging.
Thank you very much, Steve, for that update. Stephen Anti reported live from the NPP headquarters right here in Accra, Salem Down. Afre is still here with me. So Afre, in all this, we haven't really heard the leadership of the party speak, have we?
Well, a while ago, Mr. Freddie Blake, first vice chairman of the party, spoke. In fact, today, as you may know, there was a meeting at Dr. Mahmoud Baumia's house, and we understand this was over this particular matter, and he is calling for calm. Also, we are learning that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, who is currently in Germany, is cutting short his trip there to commiserate with the family of the late Mr. Adams Mahama. We understand that he'll be speaking as well on this particular matter. So the party leadership will be, Mr. Freddie Blake currently has commented, Nana Akufo-Addo, as I said, is cutting short his trip because this situation is very serious. Indeed. And the implications obviously could be dire.
Kwacha Fenema, thank you very much for that. Kwacha Fenema is my colleague right here at Joy News. But on the back of that, flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has meanwhile expressed his condolence to the family of the late Adams Mahama. He's, however, entreating the rank and file of the party to give the police the room to conduct investigations into the circumstances leading to the death of the Upper East Regional NPP chairman.
Just being informed about this tragic development that has taken place in my absence from the country in Bogatanga, and our very vibrant Upper East Regional Chairman, Adams Mahama, tragically lost his life. It's a very sad day for all of us in the MPP, and first of all, I want to extend my deepest condolences to his wife and to his family, calling upon Almighty God to give them the strength to bear this really terrible loss. Also to all my fellow members of the MPP, it's a time for us to stay calm and be in solidarity with each other. I don't want anybody taking the law into their own hands or causing any kind of mess. Let's just be very, very calm and responsible and see what will happen. The matter is in the hands of the police. I believe that we should allow the police full freedom to carry out their investigations and let us see what comes out of it. But it's a sad moment for our party, and I'm cutting short my trip to Europe to come back home and join with everybody in the party and in the country to say goodbye to our fallen colleague, and then also see what needs to be done within the party and outside to respond to the situation. I'm heartbroken. He was a good friend of mine. We'd known each other for a long time. He was a very strong age to the late Alhaji Aliyu Mahama when he was vice president, and generally being a strong party person. It's a sad day for the MPP.
The Ghana Water Company says it is determined to pursue the assault of one of its staff by 2 police officers of the Weija District Police Command. The officers allegedly manhandled the staff of the Botiano branch of the water company on Tuesday when he went to the home of the officers to disconnect water supply over unpaid bills. Joy News' Adley Datha has more.
So this is where it all went down Tuesday afternoon. A rented quarters where police officers live. Apparently, they did not understand why the water company should deny them water even though they've not been paying their bills. Well, the victim, backed by the water company, says he's not going to let go. And so he has filed a complaint at the district police headquarters here in Weija. The victim, Samuel Agesi, was given a police medical form. After lodging the complaint, he reported to the hospital on Wednesday with abdominal and groin pains.
I'm the pipefitter. So we went there where I did my job. I disconnected the line and I cut and plug and take the meter, put inside our car. I went in and sit inside our car. So I'm waiting for my colleagues to come so that we come back to office. All of a sudden what I saw was that 2 gentlemen came out from the house. They pulled me out from the car. They hold me here. Someone to use a hand to collect my my pennies and everything. They are just robbing. They are pulling me like an armed robber. Where they send me inside again, where they lock the main door. That if I don't reconnect them, they will not allow me to go out. I feel pain around my waist and my leg because they pull me from the car, so my leg hits the car. So right now, at the moment, my waist is very painful, and right now, my penis too is very painful.
Samuel shows me the corduroy trousers he wore on Tuesday. The Ghana Water Company Limited is determined to pursue the case to serve as a deterrent to others who assault its staff.
If at the end of the examination by the doctors, it is established that some organ within him has become defective, then you know just a mere apology will not do. We are going to ensure that the person or the people involved, the police officers involved, face the full rigors of the law, and also to ensure that the full amount of arrears involved in this disconnection exercise is paid before reconnection is done.
Head of the Botiano District Water Office tells me the amount owed by the police officers is too huge to ignore.
As at March 2015, they are owing us a sum of 12 cedis, 62 pesos. The company has embarked on a 100 days arrest retrieval program, and by that we are compelled to go out. So they fall within the range that we are to disconnect. So on 28th of April, we went there and disconnected them. So by way of follow-up, after a week, when we went there, we realized that they have reconnected themselves. So I sent them there to go and disconnect again. When they went there, they were held hostage.
The Weija District Police Command, however, declined an interview, but a source hinted the case is still under investigation.
Ghana has paid more than 600 million Ghana cedis in judgment debts between 2009 and 2011 alone, an amount many believe could have been channeled into more productive ventures for the state. Well, President John Dramani Mahama says the era of payment of dubious judgment debts is over. The president made this comment when he received a 501-page report from the sole commissioner on judgment debts at the Flagstaff House. He added the diligent work of the commission will save Ghana a lot of money which could have ended up in the pockets of dubious public officials.
President Mahama assured the Commission and the entire nation that government will study the report thoroughly and ensure adequate measures are instituted within the framework of the National Anti-Corruption Action Plan to avoid the recurrence of the repayment of such dubious debts as they occurred over the years. According to Mahama, the revelations at the Commission's sitting were intriguing, hence the government will act on the report to save the state coffers. He said he was happy to have received the report of the sole commissioner, revealing he followed closely the work of the commission as much as his schedule allowed him. He saluted the commissioner, who is now a nominee to the Supreme Court, for his advisory role which saved Ghana millions of cedis. President John Mahama said government has taken some key measures to halt the trend, explaining that during the sitting of the commission, upon the advice of the sole commissioner, payment of compensations that were being made by the Ministry of Finance in respect to lands inundated during the construction of the Akosombo Dam were halted.
Management of the Metro Mass Transit Company has set a September deadline to get all broken down buses back on the road. This follows their acquisition of some spare parts from Holland that the ministry says will arrive in the country soon.
Out of the 945 Metro Mass Transit Limited operational buses, 333 have broken down since the beginning of 2014. The company is unable to get the buses onto the roads due to the lack of spare parts in the country. Acting Communications Manager of the Metro Mass Transit Limited, Benessa Kologu, tells Joy News the company has signed a €1 million contract with VDL Holland for the importation of new spare parts by August. The company says it will in the interim rely on local manufacturers to supply them with some spare parts.
Yes, we have 330 buses currently broken down out of the 945 operational we have. We are still running all our routes, yes, but if we used to have 4 buses on a route, we've now reduced it to like say 3 or 2, and so all our routes are still running, but with a reduced number of buses. Currently, we are procuring some locally made parts to fix on the buses for the buses to move, but we've just signed an agreement with VDL Holland to give us €1 million worth of spare parts, which will pay in a duration of 60 days. So it's like a credit thing. They are yet to be shipped, and so we are looking at receiving them in August, and so by September we'll have all our buses back on road.
On the newly acquired buses, Benessa Kologu says the Ministry of Transport is yet to officially release them for use.
We are expecting 200 new buses. Currently 116 of them are in, but they've not been officially handed over to us, and so they're still under the Ministry of Transport. With these ones, they come with the Huangai buses. They're from China. They come with their parts. We have parts. Even when we've not started using the bus, they came with parts, and so we have parts in stock. And so the same situation with the VDL buses won't happen with the new ones.
We return shortly with a lot more news. Stay. You're welcome back. Now, the actual cost incurred by the state in the construction of the Etuabo gas infrastructure became the reason for a dragging debate in Parliament yesterday when Petroleum Minister Emmanuel appeared before the House to answer questions. Though the minister insists it cost the country some $1 billion, some members of Parliament are challenging the figure.
Government is coming under intense pressure to fully disclose the exact amount spent in constructing the Etuabo gas processing plant, following revelations in Parliament on Wednesday that the Petroleum Ministry may have understated the total cost. The Sector Minister, Emmanuel Amaku-Fibua, answering a question in Parliament, announced that the project cost government $1 billion. But that figure is now being challenged by the Member of Parliament for Yagaba Kubori, Mustafa Yusuf, who provided documentary evidence that government spent more than $1.5 million to complete the gas infrastructure project. He is now asking government to account for the $500 million difference. Here is Petroleum Minister Emmanuel Amaku-Fibua.
It was formed in 2011. The contract for the construction of the gas infrastructure project, EPCC, was signed in July 2012. Mechanical completion of the project was achieved in August 2014. Commissioning started in November 2014 and completed in April 2015. The total budget for the project is $1 billion, made up of $850 million CDB facility and the Government of Ghana counterpart funding of $150 million. The gas infrastructure project in the Western region consists of the following components: the offshore pipeline, the gas processing plant at Atani, the onshore pipeline, the gas hub centers, the operation office complex at Siema, the cost of the facility, contractual costs. So, Speaker, the total paid and committed costs to date amount to $886,345,042.13 US. Total amount yet to be committed is $130,654,957.87 US. Mr. Speaker, as I said, I will work as quickly as possible, Ghana Gas, but I hope to get the document here by the 13th of June.
But the MP for Yakaba Kubori, Mustafa Yusuf, is not satisfied with the response provided by the minister and is demanding full disclosure.
I'm not satisfied at all with the response from the minister, because as you witnessed in the chamber, the question was to establish the actual cost of the Atuabo gas project. And the minister gave the cost, the budgeted cost as $1 billion. But they've spent almost 886 million USD, okay? But they are yet to spend 130 million on other auxiliary goods. But I have in my hand a document this Ghana Gas submitted to PURC as the cost of the total Atuabo gas project in order to determine the tariff for which the sale of the gas from the Atuabo gas project will be established. And that cost is $1.578 billion US. So that is where the reason why I'm not satisfied, because I wanted to establish why the difference between the figure the minister gave to the House today and the component used by PURC to determine the tariff.
So therefore you are saying that the figure provided by the minister before Parliament today is different from the one the gas processing plant has presented to PURC for them to fix their tariff.
You realize that the minister was even agreeing with me that yes, they are in talks with PURC and there are other future investments they are going to make. But I don't understand why Ghanaians should be paying, because currently the gas from Atuabo is being sold to VRA at 10-point-something cents, okay? And if you are going to be paying for future investment, the minister should have been clear in the answer by telling us that they've spent $1 billion, but they are now going to, there are other auxiliary expenditure of almost 600 million that they will be spending. But that's not what the minister said. The minister could not establish the fact that there is a difference, there is a huge gap of almost 600 million.
Think tanks in developing countries have continuously been challenged with funding shortfalls and suspicion from governments over their research outcomes. In Ghana, the Institute of Economic Affairs and other think tanks like Imani Ghana have had to endure labels and name tags on numerous occasions. The ruling NDC recently threatened to boycott all IEA programs because of what it calls bias towards the ruling government. Joy News editor Stephen Anti caught up with the executive director of IEA, Jean Mensah, and first asked if she's worried about such labels.
We'll carry out our mandate. And the issue of corruption is something that has been at the heart of the research that we do. Indeed, the focus of our work on corruption is strengthening institutions. It's not to tag any political party or any government. It has focused on enhancing and strengthening our core institutions of restraint to perform their roles as expected of them in the Constitution. And our work has focused on doing an audit of these institutions and providing recommendations and proposals to strengthen them. And I know that at one point or the other, the outputs or the outcomes of our research have not been pleasing to many governments. And we are not, it really comes with a job, where you are labeled, where you are threatened. It's really part of the job. It comes with the territory.
So you'll still go ahead, for example, and invite the NDC government to partake in a presidential debate ahead of election 2016, regardless of any criticism or doubts they may have about your stance?
Very much so, because I say here now that the Institute is neutral, it's objective, and it will continue to carry out its work without fear or favor. And yes, we've been labeled. I know that as far back as 1989, the Institute is actually Ghana's, or the West Africa's first public policy institute. And at the time of our founding, we were just emerging from a military rule. And it was really new to have a policy center critiquing government policies and providing policy options. And we've been labeled CIA, we've been called MPP, we've been called NDC, but we've continued. And we don't feel threatened. And we will continue to carry out our mandate and of doing objective, rigorous, evidence-based research that informs and influences, to inform and influence policy making in Ghana. And come 2016, we would invite the key parties. We work closely with political parties with representation in Parliament. We would extend an invitation to all of them.
In the era of smartphone use, as well as other sophisticated devices, many people seem to have lost the habit of storing phone numbers in memory. Now, is this perception really true? Hanodame has been finding out for Joy News.
How many phone numbers do you have in your memory? In case of an emergency, whose phone number can you easily dial without referring to your phone? Let's find out from the public. So, how many phone numbers can you keep in your mind at a point in time?
One.
Which one? Whose own is that?
My dad.
Okay, why specifically your dad?
Maybe because since when I was a kid, I love my dad so much. And since then, my dad hasn't changed his number like my mom.
Can you dial your father's number without referring to your phone?
Yeah, 080-3756-1970.
How about your number? Can you keep that in mind as well?
No.
10 numbers.
What? You can keep 10 numbers in mind?
Yes.
Okay, whose phone numbers are these?
My mom, my sis, my cousin, my loved ones.
Okay, so let's begin to dial your mom's number. What are the figures?
Okay, 080 34 23 816.
That's the one. Let's try another one.
080 35 26 09 36.
And whose number is that?
My sis.
Okay, let's do your dad.
080 86 62 51.
Wow, finally your girlfriend?
Oh, my girlfriend, that's very, very simple. 080 34 81 67 20.
Yeah, I keep my auntie's number in my mind because I usually call him.
So in case of an emergency, you can quickly dial the number without referring to your phone?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Let's try here.
Okay.
You have your phone with you? Yeah. Okay, so give me your auntie's number.
0244
0244
56
23
77.
All right, let's try. What's her name? Munira. So you usually call her?
Yeah.
Who else's number do you usually keep in your mind?
My auntie again.
Another auntie?
Yeah.
Why, you usually call her too?
Yeah. We keep in touch anytime because they normally send me an error all the time. So I usually have their numbers in my head.
Hello. Hey, how are you? Good morning. Am I please speaking to Auntie Munira? Okay, Farida is my friend and I called to say hi. All right, have a good day then. Bye-bye. So there we go. We got Munira. At least that's one number you keep in mind.
Okay,
have a good day.
It can be difficult. The one you use often, you can remember them, but the rest is so difficult.
So which ones can you remember?
My own, my mom's, my best friend, and my boyfriend's.
At least you're able to remember those?
Yeah.
Without looking at your phone, you can dial?
Yes.
Well, these responses have proved to us that the smartphones and other sophisticated gadgets have not really affected our memories that bad. So the next time you are in emergency, try it yourself. Whose number can you easily dial without referring to your phone? From the streets of Accra, my name is Hannah Wadame for Joy News.
Ghana is going through difficult times in terms of job creation. Now, many youth are desperate for jobs that are non-existent. Others are being laid off. Now, the challenges seem unending. Perhaps this has incited a sense of creativity in Ghanaians in their quest for their daily bread. Abigail Admokontri tells the story of Ebenezer Sichiansa, who has refused to stay unemployed and using creative means to sell his cocoyam.
A man who will do anything to fend for himself in times of crisis best suits Ebenezer Sichiansa. To make ends meet, Ebenezer will rather set himself apart from the many men who will despise hawking cocoyam under the scorching sun. What you would not miss about him is his unique dressing for the job, one he says attracts more customers.
Sometimes if address wretched, you don't go fast unless address neat like that before the cocoyam will go.
There are other artisanal jobs like carpentry, working in a garage, something that usually men would want to do, but to sell cocoyam, why?
Sometimes the people, I expect that dirty job is not a necessary work. But if we try to do it, we encourage the people that they outside, other places, they like stealing and robbing. They will learn more about it, or they will try to do hard work.
At night, Ebenezer is a security man for an MTN office in Accra. What he earns is not enough, so he treks through the city during the day, selling cocoyam at 8 cedis per 5 pieces, hoping to make 30 cedis profit daily.
Sometimes I go like from Accra to La Paz, Accra to other places, Carnation, Odoko, Choco, a lot of places, yeah, to sell it. So it's very difficult, but small time, God will make it.
Not only is Ebenezer working to earn a living, but wants to be a source of inspiration to the youth.
I was doing this to encourage people to do more. They can do more about the way I'm doing. Like they are going robbing and other things, it will not help them. Maybe you will go, you show your life in Sawam or other places.
But how about those who are shy? Guys like
First, I'm shy, but after I'm doing it small, the shy live there and then.
Ebenezer Sechiensa is not yet married, but says he's saving towards giving his future family a comfortable life. He hopes to expand his business and export farm produce to neighboring countries in the near future. Abigail Adomakwenchi for Joy News.
Government plans on using $65 per barrel as Ghana's benchmark price for crude. Finance Minister Seth Terkper announced this at a stakeholder meeting on the state of the economy.
We are not likely to see crude oil prices, below $50, and so we are monitoring. And this also goes for the issue of hedging and others, which has been in the news. What price do you use? We started monitoring. At the time, it was 45 when we were doing the revision. The IMF estimated that the stable price would be about $53, which is what we use per barrel. I believe when the economic outlook, which the fund produces periodically, comes out, and I believe it will come out pretty soon, I don't think the fund will be sticking to 53. The fund will be sticking to something higher. So we are in a period of, volatility, and we continue monitoring the effect on the budget. And that is why it is difficult. I think at the time we used 53, Bank of Ghana put out actually the BOP effect. I remember I was on the panel with the governor, and he showed the BOP effect, which showed that is positive. And we showed the fiscal effect, which is negative, which is why we had to revise the budget. So if you have to do it, then you have to do it progressively. So we may do it now that we know that price is hovering around 65. We may use 65. We won't monitor, we may put out one of the effects using another range. But it's difficult in a period of volatility to say that this is the amount of savings.
The Terkper will partly attribute government's growing debt stock to the depreciating cedi.
The main impact is that because we predominantly cedis and government collects taxes in cedis. If you take external loans, government also has to get the cedis to pay, for, the loans. So when the cedi depreciates, it means that you need more cedis. And that is why there's an explanation that sometimes the increase in the debt that we see is an account of this depreciation alone. I think I had a figure of about 7 billion. And therefore, government itself has an interest in making sure, that this cost of debt service, which is one of the reasons you saw the interest line, moving up, is so government, contrary to, has an interest in stability of the dollar. If we approve the capital budget in particular, for Ministry of Roads, and contractors have to import equipment. If I use an exchange rate of 2.1, okay, not exactly, to do the budget, and it moves up to 2.5, I need more cedis, for the same dollar, item. So these are some of the ways in which, the depreciation of the cedi, actually affects, government's, budget.
Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Kofi Wampa, has expressed hope that the IMF program will help stabilize the Ghana cedi. Speaking at a conference organized by the Finance Ministry at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Center, Dr. Wampa said effects of the declining cedi on operations of the bank cannot be overemphasized.
Supply-wise, we've had the external shocks that the minister talked about for the past 2 to 3 years, where we have lost in terms of revenue over $3 billion during that period. If you look at the prices we were getting and the production at that time, until now, we've lost over $3 billion. If you compare this to our total reserves of just over $5 billion, you could see that's a sizable amount. So that's a lot of supply not coming to the market. In addition to that, demand has been quite high. The issues about supply are mainly external because we don't determine that. Then there are domestic factors which the minister said or talked about as imbalances, fiscal imbalances and so on in 2012, 2013. We went for the farm program. One of the main issues is front-loading the fiscal, that is fiscal consolidation. That is one, for me, that is the main advantage and the support that it gives. But the amount that comes from the fund may not be that much, but both the technical assistance, the effort that we put in terms of consolidation, and then the coming on board of the development partners. These all together is what we see as the advantages of the program.
The Ghana Revenue Authority says it exceeded its target for the first quarter of the year. The authority realized 1 billion cedis more than the projected target. George Blankson is the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority.
Of the measures that we started even with the onset of the reform are now beginning to yield visible dividends, like the introduction of the taxpayer identification number, which tracks the taxpayer at all levels from importation, manufacturing, distribution to the end. In this case, it makes it difficult for the taxpayer to be able to evade, because when you import so many bags of sugar for manufacturing, let's say, a soft drink, you use the same identification number at importation, which will also be the identification number on which you will account for the soft drinks you produce. And if you have distribution outlets, it's the same taxpayer identification number that will be used in accounting for the distribution of the products. And therefore, we are able to track the activities of the taxpayer throughout the production distribution chain.
Well, that's it for business. Benedict Ozu comes your way with sports. Technical handlers of the Black Stars team have released their final list of 21 players for the FIFA Youth Championship yesterday. Now, the team is made up of 7 foreign and 14 locally based players, with a few changes being made to that team that won bronze at the African Youth Championship in Senegal earlier this year. This is how the final squad looks like. Goalkeepers, we have Kwame Ban, who plays for Heart of Lions, Seydou Mutawakilu of Accra Heart of Oak. There is Lawrence Atizigi of Red Bull Salzburg. Now, defenders, Kingsley Fobi of Right to Dream, Owusu Bempo of Accra Heart of Oak. He's the captain of the team. Joseph Aidu plays for Interallies. Joseph Ajay plays for Wow Stars. Emmanuel in team is with Valenciennes, and Patrick Asma plays for BA United, and Patrick Pozo is with Interallies. For the midfielders, we have Isiedu Atobo of New Dubiase. Godfred Donsa plays for Calari in Italy. Kofi Abua is with Wow All Stars. Prosper Kasim plays for Interallies. David Atenga for Red Bull Salzburg, and Yao Yabua plays at Manchester City in England. Clifford Abuaje is with Granada, and he actually will be playing his second World Cup after playing a part in the
2013 World Cup in Turkey now. Osei Barnes plays for Pacos Ferreira, and for the strikers we have Benjamin Tete for Dreams FC, Emmanuel Boateng of Rio Ave, and Samuel Tete of West Africa Football United, simply called WAFA. Now, I've been joined on the phone by youth football enthusiast, and he's also the chairman of Bekum Chelsea, the general manager actually of Bekum Chelsea, and he's been following the under-20 for some time now. That's Raf Jamra. Raf, thanks so much for joining me here on News Today.
My pleasure.
Well, Raf, is this the kind of squad to win the tournament for Ghana?
Come again, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, I'm asking, is this the kind of squad to win the tournament for Ghana?
Is it the kind of players?
Yeah, the squad to win the tournament for Ghana.
Well, I think it's a collection of some quality players who have demonstrated over the years that given time, they could rise to fill the shoes of Stephen Appiah, Mike Lacey, and Solomon Terry of the Black Stars. I have been following the prospects of these young ones for quite some time now. On a personal note, I have had the benefit of, as my club, DC United, I've had the benefit of training Godfrey Donsa and also Kofi Eboa as well. And so, therefore, I know these boys very, very well. I also took a very keen interest in their development when they were part of the Park West Stadiums under 17 side. So if you take a critical look at the team, there's been a massive promotion, about 80% promotion of boys who did the job for Park West Stadiums under 17 team. So if you ask me, I think it's a very, very, very good team that Stella Sete has picked for the World Cup.
8 foreign-based players in the squad. Is Stella, justified?
Very, very, very justified. It's a shame that some of the local boys who did the business for him in Africa could not make it to this point. And then again, I ask myself why boys like Ebenezer Ofori of AIK, Stockholm, could not make it. Emmanuel Otia Sigba could not make it. There's also Thomas Japan of Man City who also could not make it. I'm quite surprised, and I'm told that these boys never ended up in New Zealand. So it tells you how difficult it was for some of the players to even come by visas. Indeed, if you look at a player like Godfrey Donsa, it was not until this week that he secured his visa to travel to New Zealand to be part of the team. So I think on the evidence of what they have done this season in Europe, I'm talking about the boys who've been selected, on evidence of what they have done at various club sides in Europe, I think they merit their call-up.
But Rob, don't you think we've been unfair to some of the players? Because you look at, some of these players have trained with a team here in Ghana, they went to Australia and also were in New Zealand. And for the likes of Clifford Abuaji and Donsan, they've not even been with a team, and yet still they make the squad.
That's very true. I have had bitter experience, a very personal bitter experience of seeing a player like Anoche Badu Steven didn't drop from the squad after he played in the qualifiers and then also a bit part in Africa as well. But that's how unfair football has turned out to be. But I think on a more serious note, the Under-20 World Cup is where all the finest players, the creme de la creme, do assemble. And that is at that point that every serious football nation gets to see the kind of players who would develop or who would be eventual part of their senior national team. So yes, in as much as we've not been fair to some of the local boys who did the qualifiers as well as Africa, I also believe strongly that these are boys who are solid and who have played good football in Europe this season, and given the time will definitely move up into the Black Stars program. Okay,
Ralph, thanks so much. I'm afraid we'll have to leave it there. Well, we still stay with the Black Starlights, and they will begin their campaign against Austria on Saturday, that's May 30, next week Saturday, and take on Argentina on June 2nd and face Panama on Friday, June 5. So the Black Starlights are going into action for the Under-20 World Cup, which begins next week. Let's move on to some other stories. And Ghana defender Jonathan Mensah will miss the start of next season as he is scheduled to return to the club action on September following the decision by FIFA to ban him for 4 months. Now, Mensah has been handed a 4-month ban by the Court of Arbitration for Sport as a result of his disputed move from Italian side Udinese to his French club Evian Tonon-Gaillard in 2011. Now, the ban was originally handed by the FIFA Dispute Resolution Chamber on 30th July 2014 and was upheld by CAS following the decision by Evian Tonon to appeal. While the decision was placed before CAS for arbitration, the 4-month ban on Mensah was suspended until the final decision was made on 30th April. With the season coming to an end in Europe this month, Mensah's ban will be suspended at the end of the current season to resume at the start of next term. This means he would have served 1 month of the ban at the end of this season, with the 3 outstanding months to kick in when the season starts in Europe in late July. Mensah will therefore be available for the Black Stars as you know they prepare for the AFCON qualifiers, the 2017 AFCON qualifiers. That's it from me here on News Today. Make sure you stick and stay and enjoy the rest of the news with Chen Chen. My name is Benedict Wusu.
News today, my name is Kwabna Chen Chen. But before we go, a quick recap of our top stories. Irate NPP youth in the Upper East region attack second vice chair of the region following the death of the party's regional chair, Adams Mahama. Meanwhile, here in Accra, police mounts heavy security presence at NPP headquarters to ward off angry youth, blaming the party's national chairman for the murder of Adams Mahama. Finance Minister said Tekpe hopeful Ghana's economy will bounce back. That's it for the news right here. For more news, do also log on to myjournline.com. Have a good afternoon.